Hey, Freedom Team. Happy Monday night. So excited to get to jump on with my friend Meredith. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. But what we hear over and over again is we love to hear from people who are in the trenches building this thing toward diamond. And Meredith is absolutely doing that. I met Meredith at Jewel School. It was my first time as a trainer, and she was an attendee. And I knew right away there was something different because she asked smart questions. I really appreciated the fact that when I came and sat at her table, there was really not any beating around the bush. Like she's sometimes when you go to these events, like people will spend time like giving you flattery or what, not her. She's like, hey, listen, I think you're smart. And so because I think you're smart, I have some needs in my business and I'm wondering if you can help me figure them out. And I'm like, let's talk. So had some really, really good questions, took a lot of feedback and then asked clarifying questions. And so our friendship just kind of has evolved since then. I respect the way that she builds her team a ton. She definitely leads with integrity. She protects her team in the same way that obviously Brittany and I protect ours. And so I just love her and how she has built. A lot of her building has been kind of on her own. Like she's figured a lot of things out. You're going to hear a little bit about her story, but anyway, so Meredith, thank you so much for being willing to do this call tonight. And I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but when you go on a limb and you ask friends like, hey, can you come inspire my team? Like I'll swap favors. And they just graciously say yes. Well, Meredith did that in the midst of a big thing in her life. They just got back from traveling. Her grandmother actually passed away and I tried to take it back. I'm like, no. She's like, I want to serve in this way. I love teaching and training. It's my jam. So I want to do it. So Meredith, I know that this is a definitely investment of your time, sacrifice of your family's time. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me. It's such an honor.
So pumped.
You guys, I know you know how lucky you are to have the leadership that you have. But you have some really, really incredible leaders that serve you in a really, really wonderful way. And I'll just go out there and say that like not every Plexus team is that fortunate to have the leadership that you have. So I'm honored to get to be asked and to spend some time with you guys tonight. So thanks for having me.
Well, what was funny is y'all had Gold School a couple weeks ago and our team came home screaming your name. They're like, Meredith, do you know her? And I'm like, I do.
Oh, she knows. Oh, she knows.
Oh, I know. And they're like, she killed it. I'm like, oh, I know. I expect that. So we're super excited to see that they all thought you're just as great as I do. So let's just start. So also Meredith's husband's also a Jewel, you guys. So Jay will be at this Jewels of Excellence next month.
Yeah.
Next month.
Yeah, he's pumped.
Yeah, it'd be super fun. Okay, so tell us your story. How did you find yourself?
Okay, so I'm about 6 years in to Plexus at this point. So some of you are going, wow, that's such a long time and you're not at Diamond. And that's okay, because I would have thought the same thing when I was in your shoes 6 years ago. I'm 6 years in. I started for energy. I was a tired mom. I have 4 kids. I don't know if we've talked about this yet. I have 4 kids. My oldest just turned 7. My second child just turned 5. I have a 2-year-old that'll be 3 next month, and then a 1-year-old. So if you're doing some math, I had 4 babies in 5.5 years. Yes, number 4 was a surprise. So it's crazy and chaotic, intense. Yes, Jackie, it's intense, but it's really, really beautiful too. And Plexus has truly like afforded all the things. Jesus has used Plexus to really answer all of our prayers in all of the ways. When I started Plexus, I had 1. My oldest Ty was like 6-ish months old, and I was tired of being tired. It's basically what it boils to. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and I was too young to feel that crummy and knew that something had to give. I had a friend that was posting about it on Facebook. I reached out to her, which I think is an important part of my story because that makes me a little unique. I reached out to her, tried a 7-day trial. It felt like the lights came on. How many of you guys felt that like within the first few days? That was me. It's not everybody's story, but that was my story. Within the first few days, it just felt like the lights came on, and I knew this was something that I needed to have a part of my life. My husband could tell within those first few days that this was something that like we needed to figure out. I was a teacher. I taught high school math at a private Christian school, not super lucrative. My husband was in law enforcement. also not super lucrative. And so when we were like, yes, we want this, and they told us how much it was for a bag of Slim, it was like, well, we don't have that kind of money. And that was a wake-up call, because for me to find something that was helping my health so much, and we didn't have $80 a month to put into that, like there's a bigger problem there. And so my sweet, sweet friend, she was a nurse, that introduced me to this. I would have used the phrase, well, you could share with your friends and use the referral bonuses to offset the cost of your products, right? Something like really like smooth. I think she just said like, well, you could work the business. You could join as an ambassador and work the business. And I took her up on it. The Lord had been softening my heart over a period of probably a few months, because I was seeing all of these articles about all of these women making like really substantial income through network marketing and like the legitimacy of network marketing. And so I was ready by that point for a change. I was crying myself to sleep every night because I didn't want to leave my baby and go to work. Ruth Ann didn't know that. Ruth Ann just knew that I said I couldn't afford it. And she was brand new. I was the one that helped her go silver. So she really knew very little. And she said, hey, you could work the business. I got on a Zoom call with, I guess like my level 4 or 5, before I even joined. And she was like explaining the business to me because I had all the questions and I was hungry, just like I was hungry at Jewel School when Christina Williams sat down at my table and I was like, all right, tell me all the things, right? Like hold my baby so I can take notes and tell me all the things, right? I was hungry. I wanted something different. And that was what Plexus was for me. I tried it. I fell in love with how I felt. Jay and I, my husband and I prayed about it and jumped all in and said, we're going to go all in for 90 days. Ruth Ann didn't know that. But we had said, we're going to try this for 90 days and then we're going to reassess. And before the 90 days were up, I had gone silver and we were like giggling because at this point we were like so in love with Plexus and everything Plexus and seeing substantial income for us. I want to pause here and remind you that my story gets really cool and I get to quit my job 9 months in, and then my husband quits his job and we have all these babies and we build our dream home. But 90 days in, I was in love with Plexus because I was making like $300 a month, right? It does not have to be you're making thousands and thousands of dollars to matter. There are so many people out there that just need $200 a month, right? They just need a little bit of wiggle room to hire a babysitter and go out for a date night to get their marriage back on track, right? Like it doesn't have to be this huge, big thing. I loved Plexus long before I was a Jewel. I quit my job at Gold. I was about 9 months in. I quit my job right
okay, pause right there. So it took you how long to go Gold?
About almost a year.
Almost a year to go Gold. Yeah. So, and we come back to this in a few minutes, I think, unless you want a caveat now, but
you can jump around. I'm okay.
It took you a year to go Gold. Now, this is 6 years ago before what was 2020, right? Back then, working consistently at something to go Gold in a year was just normal. Mm-hmm. So what would you say?
I was told it was really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah. People thought it was like really fast that I was the up and coming leader on our team, going Gold in a year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who maybe they joined during the 2020, 2021 kind of, perfect storm? Yeah. Who feels disenchanted somehow that this is taking longer than they wished it would take. What would you say to someone like that?
I would tell them a few things. First, I want to share a story from my first convention. So I went Gold on the morning of my first convention and I marched my little booty down and I got my name tag changed because it was going to say Gold Ambassador. I was real proud of it. And I was blown away by convention. If you've not been to a Plexus corporate event, like add that to your dream board like yesterday, because you have got to get yourself to Gold School, to Super Saturday, to convention, like all the things. The convention was my first like experience. And I remember looking at Jay being like, this is legit. Like, this is like a real thing. And we were walking, it was in Vegas that year. And we were walking from our timeshare to Vegas with 2 other like teammates that I had just met in person. And we had heard the stat that like 85%, 90% of the people who stick with the same network marketing company for 10 years and like consistently work for 10 years will in fact make it to the top of the company. I'll never forget it. I looked at Catherine and Melissa and I said, you know what? I don't care if it takes me 10 years to go diamond. I'm not going anywhere. I don't care. I don't care how long it takes me. That will still have changed my life and changed my kids' lives in ways that like nothing else ever would.
Yeah. Well, that's so powerful
Nothing
because
else ever would.
our brains do this thing where we say, okay, for 30 years, I'm going to work this set career and I'm going to retire on a modest income. And I'm just going to hope that there's enough between my retirement, my savings, and Social Security that I can just kind of get by. But this idea that I could potentially work something for 5 to 10 years and be at the very top rank of a worldwide company feels like too far of an ask. Yeah, and then you're like, well, but 5 years, like that's a long time. And I'm over here going, if I had continued what I was doing for 500 years,
I would never be making this kind of money and have this kind of flexibility and have this kind of growth.
Yeah.
Y'all, I am not the same person that I was 6 years ago, right? I have grown as a leader. I have grown as a friend. I have grown as an entrepreneur. Like I am a better person because of this experience. It took me 4 years to go Emerald. I worked really, really hard consistently for 4 years to go Emerald. Now, in the meantime, I had two more babies. Yeah, Lily Jo was after that. I had 2 babies and, we had life happen and it wasn't this like smooth sailing, but I was consistent because Sarah Marble told me at my first convention, small steps repeated consistently over time produce massive results. And so I grabbed onto that. And there's a lot that I cannot control, right? When we got our surprise 4th baby and I'm like puking in the middle of a move, like that was not our plan, right? But I can show up consistently. Mm-hmm. So I showed up consistently. Mm-hmm. I showed up consistently. I quit my job 9 months in, right before I went gold. I went senior gold actually pretty quickly after that because I was on fire from convention and I was focusing on sharing the business. Yeah. That to me, that has always been like people on my team. I'm known as the girl that talks about the business. Mm-hmm. How do you talk about the business? How do you message about the business? How do you post about the business? And do you know why? Because the business freaking changed my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I finally had financial margin. I could buy myself new clothes. Mm-hmm. I quit my freaking job, right? Like I was so excited and so on fire to have found an opportunity that was going to allow me to provide for my children, to serve others in a really impactful way, to help others in a really impactful way, and to get paid really, really well for it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you had end game mentality. You had long-term vision. We're talking about someone that it took you a year to go gold. You didn't fly out of the gate, fast start gold 30 days. Even though it took you a year to go gold, it was never about that goal. It was never about the next goal. It was always about the long-term vision for freedom. Yes. And I think sometimes we get into this mindset where we want the microwaved business. Like, let's just hurry up and have all of the fruit from the labor that we've not been willing to do. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that you never deviated, you never looked to the left or to the right. You never saw one obstacle or hurdle as unovercomable. You just stayed the course. You just knew that you were responsible for small, consistent daily steps, and you'd march.
And there were people that got there faster than me. Mm-hmm. Right? Like there were people that I knew that were getting there faster than me. Maybe they had more influence than I did. Maybe they came to it with more leadership than I came to it, right? Like I had to build influence. I had to learn leadership skills that maybe somebody else brought into the table with it. Maybe they weren't having the life that I was having with added babies and moves and my dad having cancer, like all these things, right? Those aren't excuses. I showed up, I kept working, but it changed the way that I worked, right? Like when I have morning sickness, I'm not putting in 30 hours a week because I'm sick, right? And so looking at it not as a race, right? But as like, that's where I'm going and I will get there. Right? I will get there.
Yep.
Yeah. And when I get there, it will be worth it. That's the thing that I think when you said, like, what would you tell someone who is like just at the beginning? Like, don't give up. Don't give up. Because I realized when we decided that I was going to quit my job, it was this aha moment of, I don't want to do this for another 40 years. Like, I don't want to be leaving my kids every single day and still barely making ends meet, barely seeing my husband, packing the pump bag every freaking day. I don't want to do that for another 40 years. It's not getting better. There's no like magical light at the end of the tunnel where suddenly as a teacher, I'm going to be making more money, or suddenly as a cop, my husband's going to be making more money, or things are going to cost less. Like, no one is coming to rescue me. So if I don't like the life that I'm living, I have one shot. We all get one life. That's it. And I don't want to spend 50 hours of every week somewhere that I no longer feel called to be. I loved teaching until I didn't.
Yeah. Well,
and I knew that wasn't where I was supposed to be anymore. So I figured out how to get where I wanted to go.
Because you're not a tree. You're not a tree. So you can move, you can change, you can create, you can evolve. Okay. So tell us about your first business builder. How did you get somebody to come alongside of you? And what you kind of already told us that was kind of your excitement, but how did you get that first person who was like, yeah, I want to do this with you?
The very first person I ever signed wanted the business. Like my first customer wanted the business because that's what I was most excited about. That's what I was messaging people about. That's what I was posting about. Like, I was passionate about the business. Newsflash, if all you ever do is post about the products and all you ever do is message about the products, guess what you're going to get? A whole lot of product users. I have lots of happy customers, and that's okay for them. But that's not really what I'm looking for. Like, I am on fire about helping other men and women create an income opportunity that allows them to live the life aligned with their dreams and values. And not everybody wants to like go all in, and like everybody's like, I can't believe your husband quit his job. My husband, a year ago this week, my husband also quit his job. We're both home full time. And there are a lot of husbands that don't want to do that. And that's okay. But that was where we felt like the Lord was leading us. And so honestly, once I went Emerald, like the next goal was getting to the place where he could quit. And our kids knew it, right? Like, I would be doing a call like this and our oldest would be like, Mommy, I was sad that I didn't get to see you at bedtime, but you're working so much so that we can bring Daddy home, right? And it was like, yes, baby, that's what we're doing. He was like 4, right? So it was always about, what is the life that I want, that I feel called to, that aligns with my values and my dreams? That's where I'm going. And who wants to go with me? Right? Jackie, what are you called to? What does the Lord want for you? I want to help you get there. Kelly, what does the Lord want for you? I want to help you get there. It's not about like me putting my dreams on others. It's about finding other people that are willing to dig in and do the work to get there. That's what sets me on fire. So that's what I talk about. That's what I message about. And that's what I get. I am sapphire and I don't have any emeralds underneath me. I have a very wide team, probably like gold and above. I think I probably have 10 or 12 like working ambassadors. And that's a lot for somebody at my, like at a sapphire level. And it's because I talk about the business all the time. I love it. I love what I do. And I share that.
Yeah. So tell me this, what do you think is the biggest obstacle? This is not in our notes. What do you think is the biggest obstacle that hinders people from sharing the opportunity? Like they think, well, if I had Mayor's success, I would, or when I get to this rank, I would. But you're saying that whole year that it took you to go gold, that was still your MO. Like you were still telling people, this is where I'm headed.
Yeah. Because I knew that that's where I was going.
So it was a decision.
Yeah. I knew that's where I was going. I had full belief that that's where I was going. And so I could talk about that even though I hadn't been there. I mean, I've been pregnant or nursing for almost 8 years in a row. I've never taken Edge, but that doesn't mean I don't have customers that love Edge. I've never taken MetaBurn, but that doesn't mean that I don't have customers that have never taken MetaBurn. Mm-hmm. Just because you're not Emerald doesn't mean you don't have best friends that have gone Emerald. Like, you know what that looks like, so you can still share about it. And like I said at the beginning, you don't need Emerald money for it to be impactful. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people right now that $100 would be huge for them. Fast Start Silver makes $300 and gets a pair of Nikes that they give somebody for Christmas. Mm-hmm. That's a big freaking deal. It doesn't have to be big money to make a difference, but I'll tell you what holds people back. It's their mindset. Mm-hmm. What do you believe about the business? What do you believe about yourself as a business owner, as a leader, right? What is that limiting belief that keeps you from sharing about the business? And it may have something to do with your own story. One of the things that I see a lot on my team, like I share about the business full-fledged from the beginning on my Facebook wall all the time. I have to like intentionally make myself share about the products. But what did I say about my journey? When I started, I bought a welcome pack with the intention of working the business from my first order. I had made my first post before my welcome pack was even on my doorstep. So that's an easy thing for me to project my story onto others. Why wouldn't everyone want to do that from the beginning? Because that's what I did. But that is not the norm. How many of you guys came for the products? Mm-hmm. How many of you guys like secretly stuck around and used the products in your closet and didn't tell a soul before you were finally convinced that maybe you should share with someone? Oftentimes I see people in that boat. You kind of project that onto the people that you're talking to. So you assume that because that was your story, that will be everyone's story, right? So they probably just want to try the products first, and then maybe I can get them to share later because that was your story. But just because that was your story doesn't mean it's theirs. My sponsor, the one that went silver when I joined, she ordered retail for years. Retail for years. Right? My story and her story are not the same. All of our stories are so different. And so you have to stop projecting your story on somebody else's, right? Let their story be their story. And if you feel uncomfortable bringing up the business, you need to figure out why. Yep. You need to dig in and figure out what is making you uncomfortable about that. And then write yourself a positive affirmation for it. So I used to feel like I was bothering people. How many of you guys have been like, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to bother them. Come on. I can't be the only one, right? Like, I don't want to bother them. There we go. So I wrote a positive affirmation years ago, and it just added to my list of positive affirmations. God is using me and Plexus to change lives. Well, suddenly I don't feel like I'm bothering people. If God is using me and Plexus to change lives, that's like the opposite of bothering people. So whatever it is that your brain tells you, when you go to post about the business or message about the business, there's a lie that pops into your brain. Whatever that lie is, you need to dig into it, maybe with the help of your coach or your mentor, sideline buddy, right? Dig into it and then craft yourself a positive affirmation and a game plan to help you get beyond it, because it's your mindset that's holding you back. There's not some secret message. There's not some secret post. It's your mindset that's keeping you from reaching out more about the business.
Here's what I see that holds them back from reaching out about the business. They've not made the decision yet. They've not made that decision that you said you made long before gold. It wasn't, you didn't say, I'm going to go to the top if I go gold quickly. I'm going to go to the top if I beat so-and-so. I'm going to go to the top if it's fast as I want. If I'm going to go to the top, if this, you said, I'm going to go to the top no matter what. You had a decision made. Mm-hmm. If the decision hasn't been made, if the line has not been drawn in the sand, and I'm not committed to my own vision, how am I going to boldly and confidently reach out and ask someone to trust me with theirs?
Yeah.
So if there's something that's holding you back from sharing the opportunity, it's very likely you're not bought into your own vision. Okay. and I'm going to respect your time, even though I feel like I could talk to you for like another million hours. All right. Let's see if we can get through 2 more. What's one experience that you saw as a major hurdle that had to be overcome in your business that now looking back, you see as a blessing instead?
It took me a while to think of this one because it took me so long to overcome it that I like forgot that it was even a thing. And I didn't even realize it was a thing at the time. My running buddy quit 2 weeks before I started my very first push to Emerald. The girl that like, we're going to go, our boys are like 2 months apart. We're going to take them to Hawaii together. We're going all the way to the top together. We're doing everything together. It's going to be awesome, right? Like we lived close enough that we hosted events. Like we were doing it together. Messaged me right before my very first push to Emerald and was like, hey, I think I'm going to step back. And I realized that I think part of why that was so hard for me, and this is why I'm glad I overcame it. The 2 people that have poured into me the most business-wise are my level 4 and 5 uplines. They saw that I was hungry. They saw that I had fire and they invested in me way more than most people would have invested in a level 4 or 5. I'm just going to be honest. And they are best friends that work their business like a team. And so everything they do like a team. And so I am a rule follower and that was what they did. So that's what I thought I was supposed to do. So I had my best friend and we were going to run our business just like they were. Right. And we like laughed about how like their names are Vicky and Aubrey. And I was the Vicky and she was the Aubrey. And it was this like awesome thing, just like what they did. You see where this is going, right? So when she leaves and I'm like, what do I do? Right? Like that was my person. I have to find another person. I have to find another person. It finally hit me right before I actually went Emerald, like a year later. It finally hit me. I am the other person. Jay is the other person. I don't need one running buddy to build with. That's what they did. And it worked really, really great for them. But that's not the story that the Lord was writing for me. And so I had to let go of that, what I thought that was supposed to look like, and figure out how I was going to build. And literally, like, it was like, Jay, you're my Aubrey. Like me and you, babe, like, let's do this. Yeah. And we did. And that's what we did. We said, I don't need one running buddy. I want 20 running buddies, right? Let's run. And that was the shift for me. And it bled into the confidence to build my business the way that felt right to me with the wisdom and counsel of other people.
Yeah.
I love everything Christina has taught me. Like I sit at her feet and I'm just like, please teach me your ways. But my business doesn't look exactly like Christina's because it's not Christina's business. It's mine. I have learned so much from Robin Sullivan, right? Like I have learned so much from all of these amazing trainers. But what I do is I go and I learn from each of them and I say, ooh, that really fits. Oh, that works with my personality. Oh, that works with my values, right? And I craft what works for me with wise counsel, right? There's a balance there. But up until that point, I felt like I had to like do it the way that it had been done before me. And that shift, I took ownership big time when that happened. And it was like, no, it doesn't have to look that way. This is my business. And I get to decide what this looks like for me. And sometimes that decision means that it took me 4 years to get to Emerald because I wasn't working 40 hours a week. I was still working part-time. I had all these babies. I was okay. Right? I took ownership of what it would look like when that happened in a different way. And so I'm glad it did because I needed to.
Yeah. So many things to dig in just in that story, but the circumstances around you did not change the vision. It wasn't, I will be diamond if we get to do this together. As long as my running buddy doesn't quit, I'm going to be a diamond. It has always been, I'm going to the top and the rest will figure itself out.
Well, and you can hear me say it right now, folks. I am going to the top and I don't care how long it takes me to get there. I don't, because this business has already changed my life. in ways that would have been impossible otherwise. So like, I don't know when that's going to happen. Only the Lord knows exactly when that's going to happen, but I'm going there. And that's where my vision is. And that's what I'm running towards. Right. And I'm taking as many people with me as I can.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so many. I'm actually training on one of this in-game topic at our in-game mentality at Ruby Retreat. So I'm going to save what I have one and I want to fit it so bad. I'm going to save it though. Okay. Also, I heard you say my first push for Emerald, and it ended up taking me another year after that. There's so much failing forward in your story, but you view it as just like, oh, okay, I learned something from that. I'm just going to move on. I learned something from that. I'm just going to move on.
I mean, I'm not saying I didn't cry.
Sure.
And I ended the month at like 1,300. Okay. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying I wasn't really sad that I didn't go to Hawaii that year. And then the next year it was canceled. And then the next year it was my COVID. I'm not saying I wasn't upset about that. I was, but it was part of my story. And I've learned something at every level. I wasn't ready to be Emerald, or I would have been Emerald.
Such ownership and such a lack of blame. And I respect that a ton. And you never made that failure in the moment define who you were going to be.
No, I was still going to get there. I just didn't get there when I wanted to.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. Last one, I'm going to let you go be with your family. But if you had to tell somebody who is just starting out, like we're talking to the just starting outers or the people who are feeling a little too stable in their business currently, like they feel like they're doing the things, maybe consistency is missing, maybe whatever, but they feel like, you know what, I'm just not moving forward. What are you going to say to that person as somebody who is still in the trenches, building so hard, still striving for that goal? What do you say to them?
Try something new. Try something new. I don't have the exact quote because I don't have my Jewel School binder is right down there. But one of the quotes was basically like new people, new ideas, new something else, new information is what brings momentum. So like if you're doing the same thing that you've always done and you're not getting where you want to go, newsflash, it's time to do something new. And sometimes it's truly just like, hey, this is a new event that we're doing that gets people excited. Sometimes it's, I don't know, like a new accountability group, a new coaching system, and try something new. Also, if you're not having fun, no one on your team is having fun either. And that was a lesson that I had to learn because I'm not really here for the fun. Like I'm here to show up and to do my job and to like do what needs to be done. I'm the red in me, right? I have like this much blue. I'm not here for the fun. I'm here to work and I love what I do and it's very rewarding, but like, I don't need a party every day to sit down and do my IPA. So it was mind blowing to me that like, there are people that like, don't want to work if it's not fun. Like work isn't supposed to be fun. It's work. Like that didn't like occur to me, but if you're not having fun, if you're like, frustrated because you're doing all the things and nothing's happening, well, your team is picking up on that. So find something fun, find something different, and dig into mindset, because 80% of your success is counting on your mindset. And if you're saying that you're doing all the things and you're not growing, then your mindset is probably not where it needs to be, or you would be growing if you were doing all the things. So
yeah, because when your mindset's squared away, you're looking for solutions. Yeah. And I would just say that a step further and say, if you're not getting where you want to go, do the things that you know you're avoiding. Like, who is it? Bob Hyde. Somebody says, like, when you're finally willing to do what you've been unwilling to do, then you will eventually get the results that you've been wanting to get. So Mayor, listen, I'm telling you, I could talk all night long. We might have to do a part 2 to this.
Hey, I'm game.
Cheering you on to Diamond. Can't wait to hear all the things afterwards. But yeah, thank you a ton for
thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. I love Christina, and therefore you by default. Whatever it is that you have your sight set on, run, friends. Just run, because nobody's coming to rescue you. But you absolutely can do that. You can get there, dig in, do the things, listen to your leaders, be willing to try the hard, scary things, and dream big. Dream big, because you can get there and it's amazing. And it doesn't have to be diamond money to be amazing.
Absolutely. All right, friend. Thanks a lot. Tell Jay I'll see you next month.
Yeah.
See ya. Bye.